Good morning, everyone. Bonjour, buenos dias. Welcome to the webinar, Territorial Markets, Healthy Food, Real Relationships, and a Fair Deal. You are very welcome to join us this morning, afternoon, evening. We have a great group here, people from all over the world, and we are very welcome to this session. The Agroecology Fund, but before I go to the introductions, just to remind you that we have interpretation in English, French, and Spanish. You just go to the bottom of your screen, click the globe, and then you can choose the language that you feel more comfortable with. S'il vous plaît, vous pouvez cliquer sur le globe pour choisir la langue de votre préférence. Ustedes pueden seleccionar la interpretación en español clicando en el globo que está abajo en la pantalla y seleccionando español. Very welcome. During the session, you can share your questions, comments with the speakers using the key Q&A function. And you also, please, can use the chat to share your thoughts, ideas with all participants that are attending this session. So I will say a few words about the Agroecology Fund. The Agroecology Fund is a multi-donor fund that supports just and sustainable food systems. Agroecology Fund was created in 2012 by four foundations, philanthropic foundations from the US. And currently, Agroecology Fund has around 55 foundations that could contribute to this pool fund. And Agroecology Fund supports collaborative initiatives in more than 90 countries in the world. And this year we have been putting our attention to discuss what we call the agroecology economies, the different types of interventions that grassroots organizations around the world are working to scale the initiatives to facilitate access to market and to get better income for farmers and also facilitate access to healthy food to consumers, especially vulnerable groups that lives in the urban areas. And today we are very happy to have a chance to learn from initiatives from Sri Lanka, Benin, Mali, and Peru about what they're doing in this area. And we also are very happy to receive special speakers from IPES-Food to share with us the findings of a report that they have launched recently about territorial markets. So before I pass the mic to my colleague Tabara Neniedi, that will lead this session, I would like to share with you some words of one of our partners that have been working with territorial markets. Please share the video, Alison. Thank you.
My name is Gertrude Charai Jebson. I'm the country coordinator for Pelam, Zimbabwe. Territorial markets are very important for Africa to revive its seeds. They bring back the diversity that we find in farmers. They are also spaces of knowledge where people celebrate the diversity of seed and also the food that we find in a country. When we have territorial markets, a nation is actually resilient because these are places where we can find the seed and where we can find the food. So in a nutshell, territorial markets are really important for the resilience of Africa.
Hi, everyone. I'm taking the mic from my colleague Angela Cordero. I'm Tabaranja with the Agroecology Fund based in Dakar, Senegal. We had a good transition from Gertrude, our colleague from Pelum, Zimbabwe, in the importance of the territorial markets. We all know that in the past, territorial markets were very important to the resilience of farmers and their organizations and families. But in the past decades, we have seen kind of problem with territorial markets, given the way the corporate businesses are invading the markets all over the world. So we have a lot of, some of our partners are working really on making sure that territorial markets are playing a good role, are still strong in the environment and landscape of food systems in the world. So we want to start with questions just to see where we are at on if you can respond to questions on how easily can you find a farmer's market offering fresh agroecological food? A, for easy, there are agroecological farmers markets in my locality. B, sort of easy, I can find agroecological food in conventional farmers markets. C, not easy, I have to travel to buy agroecological food at a farmer's market. And also D, I rely on supermarkets to buy fresh agroecological food. And E would be, I have no access to agroecological food. So you can just select one answer that fits your situation. For question number 1, just choose one. Respond on this question, how easily can you find a farmer's market offering fresh food? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, so here is the answer. We have easy for 23%, and sort of easy, I can find agroecological food in conventional farmers market for 27% of the participants, and 35% not easy. I have to travel to buy agroecological food at a farmer's market, and 5% I rely on supermarkets to buy fresh food and fresh agroecological food, and I have no access to fresh agroecological food for 11% of the participants. So the big answer is that it's not easy. I have to travel to buy agroecological food at the farmer's market. That is something that is very, very important, and telling us about the importance of working on developing territorial markets. Question number 2. Okay, question number 2. What is the major barrier to having agroecological farmers market in your region? A, can be lack of production of agroecological food to supply the demand for fresh food. B, the lack of dedicated infrastructure and the financial support to farmers. C, unfavorable rules to set up farmers markets. And D, lack of demand from consumers. You have to select one answer that fits your situation, where you live. What is a major barrier to having agroecological farmers markets in your region? Just one answer. Is it lack of production of agroecological food, lack of dedicated infrastructure and financial support to farmers, unfavorable rules to set up farmers market, or a lack of demand from consumers? Just choose one. One answer. Okay. Okay, let's see wow. The major answer is 2, the lack of dedicated infrastructure and financial support to farmers. That's really very telling of the situation of farmers producing agroecological food in our immediate environment. And also number 2, in terms of numbers of answers, is the lack of production of agroecological food to supply the demand for fresh food. And number 3 is unfavorable rules to set up farmers markets. And the lack of demand from consumers is also one major barrier. Thank you for voting. It's a good basis of our conversation today. Thank you for voting. We have decided today to have this conversation, as I said at the beginning, due to the importance of this issue for the agroecology, for the partners, for the agroecology producers in the world. We will have presentations from human development organizations in Sri Lanka, represented here by Ponniah and the Dr. Sivapragasam from Sri Lanka, working on these issues of territorial markets at the local level, but also at the higher level. We will have a presentation from Raoudath Bouraima from the Jardins de l'Espoir in Benin, working with youth organizations on developing agroecology gardens in Benin, in the whole region, in the country. But also we will have another presentation from Mamadou Goïta, the director of IRPAD in Mali, who is working in Mali and Guinea on a project based on the management of the governance of territorial markets. We'll have another presentation from María Fernandes Poquis from ANPE in Peru, working also on territorial markets in Peru. And at the end, as Angela, my colleague, was saying, we will have a kind of sharing of the report from IPES-Food by Shalmali Guttal, who is going to take us through the findings of this important research. Report. So I will pass the mic to the representatives of human development in Peru. So you have the mic now, Ponniah and Dr. Sivapragasam. You have 13 minutes, so I will be managing the time, and we'll let you know if you are about to finish maybe 2 to 3 minutes before the end of your time. Does that work for you?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much for everyone. Good evening and bonjour from Sri Lanka. It is very nice to see you all. So number one is the Human Development Organization is a development organization working with the marginalized communities in Sri Lanka, particularly the plantation workers community, tea plantation workers community in Sri Lanka. The Human Development Organization also a human right-based organization. It works on the human rights issues as well as the right to food. In that context, we mostly appreciate our project with Agroecological Fund. So that is our brief introduction. So mainly we are working with the plantation women. So the background of this project is, since last 200 years, these women have been working in the plantation as a tea pluckers or tea workers. So they have no experience on the agroecology or the agriculture activity or cultivation. So their experience was workers. So now through this project, we are trying to change the women from workers to farmers, farmers to entrepreneurs. So that is a major challenge and change happened since last 4 or 5 years. So that was a learning for us. So we learned a lot from this project. So I am not trying to say that is totally success. Now we are in the learning process. This is a new learning, new initiative, new activities. So this territorial market, the market activity particularly, this market, how this market is working. So you may know that the women in the plantation areas are particularly minority community. They speak Tamil. Their history is they were brought by the British colonial from South India to Sri Lanka. So they live in a very thin area. They have no right to land. Their houses are very small. So within this setup, they try to improve their agriculture, food production, then also bringing some new kind of activities, economic activities to the community. So this market is, so we have a variety of goods they produce. One is vegetable, that is agroecological vegetable. Purely, most of them are organic vegetable. They grow this vegetable near their home. First they started as a home garden. Slowly they expanded that. So that is a vegetable. Then second thing is they produce food. So in the food mean the community food. That mean we call these foods are like string hoppers or small short eats, like those foods. The third thing is they also produce some like curd, this kind of products, because they are rearing cow. So then they also are rearing chicken. So they try to sell the eggs as well as chicken. Then they sell the milk. From the milk, they try to make curd like that. So this is the market structure, the production structure. So how the market is playing. So in the beginning, the first instant, I think last 1.5 years ago or 2 years ago, we organized a small market within their living place, within their community. So finally, we found that there is a big demand for the vegetables and those products, particularly sweets and food, as well as some of them they produce batik clothes also. So then the school bags and like that. There was a big demand they found. Then within the community, they sold within a day. Then again, weekly, we try to organize some market in the particular place. Then the demand raised, the community, other community members came to that place. That means other plantation, the villages nearby that, the women and men, they came to that place and they bought vegetable and other goods. Then we found the market is expanding, the demand also expanding. Then we discussed with the government authorities, why don't you help these women? Historically, they were very marginalized, segregated community. Then the government, the local government authorities agreed, and they asked them to come to the city. They allocated a place near the schools. They asked them to sell those products during the festival time. Then the many places, not only one plantation, different plantation, women came to that place. 2 or 3 or 4 days, they sell that during the festival day. So the demand increased. Many people came, many different ethnic groups, different language group, different jobs. They came and they bought, because there is a very big demand for the agroecological product or organic product. in Sri Lanka, in the local level also. Then they bought. Finally, people found out this is a good market for the buyers and sellers. Then we discussed many times for a 6 month to get a land for the building the market. Finally, the local authority that we call divisional secretariat, they are the powerful people in the district, sub-district level. So they agreed to provide a government small place near their office for a weekly market. So they invited these women weekly, one day, to sell that place. Then the people trained the particular Monday or Saturday to come and buy that goods in this place. Then they expanded 2 days. Now it is 3 days. 3 days, weekly 3 days or 2 days, the market is running. Morning, the women come to that place, they sell. Evening, they collect their money and they go back. Now, the thing is, some government officers, early morning, they give a telephone call to the women and they ask, please keep 1 kilogram of vegetable or 1 kilogram of some other like potato or some leeks or some things for us. So like that, the women are getting telephone call also from the government officers and they are keeping the vegetable like that. So this is a structure how the market is playing in our content. So now the plantation women, those who get low wage from the plantation work, now they are getting more income. Also, they think they are respect the people. Their dignity is visible now. The people are very happy, even though these are minority Tamil women. The supplier, the demand, and the people who are buying, the consumers are respecting them. They are respecting their dignity. So that's how it's going on. I think Logesh can also explain a little bit about more than that.
Hello, once again, good evening, good morning. Yes, I talk about some challenges that the women are facing in the local market. So Dr. Siva explaining how the people's lifestyle. So our women mostly their producers are agroecology food productions. So some, the big business people, they supply more. So that time, then the women facing the challenges. I think need more government support to these local women producers or the marginalized women, because it's very needed. Because the marginalized women are mostly they producing organic vegetables and foods in the small space, so they need the land. So that's why we need the support, government support more. The collective fund for women, because these are local women, they need challenges. They need some funds for producing more agroecology. So then that's why they face the lack of fund. Then the lack of technology, because new business people or the big business people, they're using social media and all. These women, local women, need some technological support regarding social media to produce. They used to that time the marketing they are produced. So then that's also lacking in the marginalized women.
You have 2 minutes.
Okay, future plan is increasing knowledge with public and local people, because we need to give the idea to buy good things, agroecology things to use for their consume and for the healthy life. So that is one needed in the future plan. Then we need to increase the women farmers more and more in the local level. regarding the plantation women and marginalized women. It's needed. That also our plan. I think in future we are planning, IHDO planning to make at least 500 women in this course. We are targeting little. Now we have around 25 women. They are very strongly, they sell their things. Then in future, we need to move women to the agroecology production. So these are the some future plans to technology support, technology trainings. Everything is we are step by step we making language training as well, because our people are speaking Tamil. Then they consumers are Sinhalese, so they need some language training as well. Budgeting, especially how they are earning money, then how they budgeting, how much they income. That kind of training also they needed. These are the some future plans we planned to give our women and our farmers, because the women are making, because everybody talk about motherland, but any motherlands not belongs to mothers. All the motherlands leadership is leading by men. So our concern is the women need more land. So in the future we struggle and we are fighting to get more land to local production and establish their organic agroecology things. These are the some plans. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, our friends from Human Development Organization in Sri Lanka. Thank you for this very interesting presentation and how you took us like through your current work, but also the challenges and how it is important for women as producers to get the tools they need, like land, resources they need, like land, knowledge, etc., to be able to get products on the market to make sure that they are answering the needs of consumers. Thank you so much. Thank you. If the participants there, if you have questions, you can just put them on the chat. So do we have, is Jardins de l'Espoir here, Raoudath? Or if not, we can just go to IRPAD. Okay. Let's go to...
I think they are here, Tabara.
They are here?
Yes,
I can't see them.
Hello.
Oh, hi. Welcome, Raoudath. We will be having the presentation from Jardins de l'Espoir, organization based in Benin.
In Benin, yes.
By the President Raoudath Bouraima. So just, you have the floor. You will have to present for 13 minutes. I will let you know if you are, you have 3 minutes left. You can go ahead, Raoudath.
Thank you, Tabara. Thank you so much for giving me the floor. And I would like to ask the technical team if we can have the video. I don't know, this is not this one. I'm sorry for the mistake. I think we would like to share a video, not this one, please. I don't know if I can change this. Okay. Well, will you able to see my presentation?
Raoudath, do you wanna, are you trying to share your screen or what? If
yes, I'm trying to share.
Let my colleagues share.
Okay. I have sent the presentation via email. I would like you to share this one, please. Can I go ahead? Yes.
Is it this video that you want to show or another one?
No, not this one. I put it in the...
Catherine, do we have the other video?
Can I put it in the chat, please?
Catherine, do we have the other video?
Yes, we do. Just a second.
Okay, 1 sec, Raoudath.
I will put in the chat, please.
No, it's fine. We have it. We will share it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes. So I will let you first to
go ahead.
I will let you first to watch this video, which presents the farmers market from Les Jardins de l'Espoir. This video is in French. I will also do my presentation in French. Thank you. I'm sorry, can we have the volume? Sorry.
Okay. Is it playing? Yep. Okay.
Les Jardins de l'Espoir sont ravis de vous informer qu'au cours du mois d'août, dans les 2 premières semaines du mois d'août, nous allons opérationnaliser notre marché fermier. En clair, c'est un point de rencontre où nous allons faire converger nos fruits et légumes issus de nos potagers, de nos productions, sans engrais ni pesticides chimiques, entre les différentes fermes des Jardins de l'Espoir, depuis Sakété jusqu'à Zé, en passant par Toribocito, Semepoji et autres.
Je me suis formé chez les gens de l'Espoir, sur le site de Toribocito Bénin. Aujourd'hui, je suis membre des gens de l'Espoir. Je suis sur mon site. J'ai produit naturel. Tout ce que je fais, c'est production écologique. C'est pourquoi je participe aussi pour ce marché fermier. Et déjà, j'ai déjà mes pépinières de chayo en cours et d'oignons. Et même la pastèque en production. Et puis la carotte qui sera lancée bientôt.
Nous avons actuellement ici à Zé des poivrons, des concombres en cours de production, de la laitue, des haricots verts, de la pastèque, du gingembre et du curcuma, ainsi que de la patate douce.
Sur le site de Togudo, nous on a de l'amarante, des vénonias, la laitue, chou paumé, de la carotte, le gingembre et curcuma.
Comme vous le savez déjà, au sein des Jardins de l'Espoir, nous produisons de manière écologique. Donc ici, nous sommes sur mon aire de compostage. C'est ici que nous faisons tout le compost qui est utilisé au niveau du potager pour la production. Je vous donne rendez-vous en août pour le démarrage du marché fermier.
Bonato timenu me keke be na comprendre rien d'être clé maglé de noleo minodo diana minodo article chimique de buna mino fabriquer compost bono dona bono ado système les dimbodo engrais bio les bleus pour de jus de feuilles à ma part pour les pour mais câble non marché correctement pour nous mais bini tout pour nous mettre marché miton fermier d'eau en place les envois au bois au dessus de nous leur dit pour boire d'eau de midi.
Merci beaucoup, Tabara.
C'est Clean My Mac. On est super content de vous en parler parce que c'est clairement...
Raoudath. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Okay, can I share my screen? No, it is not. It is not. Can I share my screen, please? This is not a presentation. I'm sorry.
It's not yours?
This is the previous one for agroecology fund, but it's not this for this. Please find the best one.
Yeah.
I share the best one here.
Catherine, can you allow Raoudath to share her screen, or do you have her presentation?
Yes, she's able to share.
Okay, go ahead, Raoudath. Thank you, Catherine.
Can you see my screen, please?
Yes.
Thank you so much. Merci beaucoup. Nous, c'est les Jardins de l'Espoir. Je suis très contente d'être avec vous ce soir pour présenter notre initiative, le marché fermier l'Éden. Nous avons commencé par cette vidéo pour montrer que nous avons privilégié vraiment utiliser les canaux digitaux pour lancer cette initiative au Bénin, qui est une initiative vraiment que nous voulons innovante et pour désormais rassurer les consommateurs que nous avons au Bénin du fait qu'il est possible de produire agroécologiques, de produire sains, de produire bio et que cela se retrouve chez les Jardins de l'Espoir. Merci, je suis Raoudath Bouraima, actuelle présidente de les Jardins de l'Espoir. La présentation sera sur ces quelques points. Premièrement, nous allons parler de qui sommes-nous au Jardin de l'Espoir. Ensuite, nous allons également parler de l'évolution du marché fermier. Jusqu'à ce jour, nous allons décrire brièvement le fonctionnement de ce marché, parler des défis que nous rencontrons et également des perspectives futures du marché. Alors, les Jardins de l'Espoir est une organisation qui est née avec, au début, cinq jeunes qui se sont vraiment mis ensemble, qui viennent de plusieurs disciplines, mais qui sont réellement amoureux de la nature, amoureux de la production naturelle et écologique. Nous avons vu en fait qu'il y a un appel de plus en plus croissant à la transformation vers une agriculture désormais plus sûre, plus saine et des systèmes alimentaires plus durables. Et il est nécessaire finalement de transformer nos systèmes de production en vue d'atteindre les objectifs de développement durable et aider ainsi à une circularité de l'économie. Vu cet appel croissant, nous avons pensé qu'il fallait désormais promouvoir l'agroécologie, qui n'est pas une notion nouvelle. Elle existe depuis le temps de nos ancêtres, mais elle est en train actuellement de gagner du terrain, d'être de plus en plus innovante et de répondre aux besoins actuels de nos consommateurs et également de la population. Elle aide à conserver la biodiversité, garantir les systèmes alimentaires inclusifs, promouvoir les circuits commerciaux vraiment courts et aider vraiment à obtenir des prix justes et rémunérateurs pour le producteur et également des prix justes pour le consommateur. Le Jardin de l'Espoir a plusieurs réseaux, dont le réseau Djinoukoum au Paden, le réseau Cévaste, le réseau de la FAEB, plusieurs organisations également telles que le CEVAD, la Synergie paysanne, beaucoup de réseaux qui sont partenaires à nous, qui ensemble avec nous forment une fédération d'associations qui œuvrent pour la promotion de l'agroécologie et de ses valeurs. Nos actions au Jardin de l'Espoir, c'est premièrement de former nos membres ou alors tout producteur en agroécologie, de renforcer les capacités de nos fermes agroécologiques, de sensibiliser les jeunes comme nous, surtout des femmes, au bienfait de la production agroécologique et également au fait qu'il est rémunérateur et qui peut vraiment aider et constitue désormais une activité génératrice de revenus beaucoup plus sûre et saine. Voilà. Et également, nous avons pensé qu'il fallait désormais faciliter aux agroécologistes l'accès aux semences paysannes, aux semences libres, aux semences diversifiées qui pourront vraiment aider à avoir une meilleure production. Nous avons pensé à plusieurs initiatives privées, dont la plus importante actuellement que je m'en vais vous présenter est le marché fermier l'Éden. Ce marché fermier l'Éden, nous l'avons pensé afin de privilégier des circuits courts de distribution de nos produits, de nos légumes et fruits, et créer ainsi un point ou plusieurs points de vente des légumes et fruits installés dans la ville de Cotonou. Nous avons déjà commencé nous avons commencé au début par des abonnements et des cotisations mensuelles de nos consommateurs et des distributions à domicile, des livraisons de ces produits, légumes et fruits là, par nos producteurs à divers domiciles. Nous avons commencé nous avons pensé l'initiative et nous l'avons appelé le marché l'Éden parce que nous avons voulu qu'il retourne à l'origine, parce qu'à l'origine était le naturel. Vous allez le voir dans les quelques slides qui viennent. Nous l'avons vraiment inscrit sur certaines de nos affiches. À l'origine, était le naturel, c'était l'Éden. Et il faudra retourner à cet idéal-là, qui est de faire regagner à l'agriculture sa mission de départ, qui est vraiment de nourrir, mais pas de détruire. Nous avons, au fur et à mesure,
Excuse me, you have 2 minutes left.
OK, nous avons au fur et à mesure agrandi le réseau, le marché fermier, à plusieurs autres producteurs. Je vais ensuite voir l'évolution du marché. En fait, nous avons commencé cette initiative en août 2021 et nous avons commencé vraiment à mettre en place ce système-là, cet espace de transaction alimentaire qui va désormais lier le producteur et le consommateur afin de le rassurer davantage. Et pourquoi cela? Pour, comme tel que je l'ai dit, dynamiser la distribution de légumes et fruits et promouvoir vraiment des légumes sains et de bonne qualité pour nos consommateurs. Nous avons quelques affiches du marché fermier, des producteurs, nos sites de vente avec les consommateurs. J'ai mis quelques images pour vous montrer un peu comment se déroule le marché fermier, le fait que nous avons voulu que ce soit des prix totalement équitables, totalement vraiment facile d'accès, très, très moins cher, afin que nous arrivons vraiment à enlever le mythe que les populations ont actuellement des productions agricoles bio, parce qu'ils se disent que c'est très cher, les productions écologiques sont hors de prix, nous ne pouvons pas avoir accès. Mais non, on peut bien avoir accès. Le Jardin de l'Espoir a mis en place un système collaboratif, c'est-à-dire les fermes que nous constituons collaborent, on fait les énergies et les producteurs sont mis ensemble en fait pour pouvoir vraiment apporter ces produits-là au marché fermier le jour du marché. Nous avons un système, un calendrier culturel processé et synchronisé pour nos agriculteurs, ce qui permet d'avoir vraiment le détail de ce qu'il faut produire, quand est-ce qu'il faut le produire et qui peut produire ceci, cela, afin qu'on n'ait pas un chevauchement de plusieurs producteurs qui amènent la même chose le jour du marché. Nous avons pensé à un système de conservation de produits, un système collaboratif pour acheminer les produits de nos sites de production vers le marché et une caisse collaborative pour en fait faire le dispatch des montants vendus à chaque marché fermier. Nous voyons actuellement la nécessité de dupliquer le marché fermier, d'associer vraiment d'autres acteurs de nos réseaux à cette initiative parce que nous devons désormais accroître vraiment ces marchés-là. Nous avons pensé désormais, le défi primordial, c'est que les consommateurs veulent vraiment être assurés de la qualité des produits qu'ils consomment. C'est des produits agroécologiques, mais ils veulent être sûrs que ce soit réellement des produits sains. Nous avons notre partenaire Agroécologie Fund qui nous a heureusement aidé à ce que cette initiative trouve le jour et a désormais commencé déjà ce processus-là qui est d'assurer la qualité des produits agroécologiques que nous servons à nos consommateurs et qui bientôt verra le jour et pourra faire adhérer plusieurs producteurs et acteurs au Bénin. Nous prévoyons fidéliser davantage nos clients parce que nous avons eu des difficultés dans ce sens également où les produits manquaient souvent. Les produits n'étaient vraiment pas, ne pouvaient pas suffire tout le monde puisque nous étions un nombre un peu restreint. Mais finalement, nous avons élargi à une quinzaine de membres actuellement qui amènent les produits à ce marché-là. La logistique étant en train d'être parfaite au jour le jour. Et donc, AQSAEP verra bientôt le jour. C'est comme perspective future. Nous avons pensé que le projet Assurance qualité des systèmes agroécologiques paysans va bientôt avoir le jour et aider à rassurer davantage nos consommateurs quant à la possibilité de produits vraiment sains, naturels et de pouvoir vraiment le tendre sur un marché afin d'aider le producteur à être rémunéré équitablement. Merci
Thank
beaucoup.
you very much. Very interesting presentation.
Thank you too.
Yeah,
I can
showing
stop
the
now.
importance of involving youth and also
I'm sorry.
creating trust between the consumers and the producers. That's very, very important. So we are going now to give the mic to Mr. Mamadou Goïta, who is the president of IRPAD in Mali. Mamadou is also an expert of agroecology food systems in the region and also in the world. So Mr. Goïta, you have the floor. You have 13 minutes, so you will share your own presentation. Thank you so much.
Est-ce que vous m'entendez?
Oui.
Donc,
We can
je
hear
vois
you.
aussi l'écran. L'écran aussi, vous voyez?
Yes.
Merci beaucoup. Donc, c'est vraiment un très grand plaisir pour moi. Je vais parler en français pour faciliter avec tous les collègues qui sont en ligne, pour faciliter un peu plus la compréhension. Je m'excuse de la qualité de l'Internet parce que je suis en RDC, pas seulement à Kinshasa, mais à l'intérieur à Bandaka, donc c'est extrêmement difficile la connexion. J'espère que ça va aller. Donc, assez rapidement, je vais parler de recherche sur les marchés territoriaux au Mali et en Guinée, qui est la suite d'une initiative, qui est une initiative soutenue par Agroecological Fund, mais qui fait suite aussi aux travaux antérieurs que IRPAD avait sur la question des marchés territoriaux, parce que c'est un sujet que nous avons très tôt, depuis la phase de négociation des décisions au niveau de la FAO, initié la méthodologie globale de la recherche sur les marchés territoriaux. Donc, à partir de là, IRPAD a initié un certain nombre d'activités et actuellement, nous sommes en train donc d'élargir la base de cette recherche avec les collègues d'ailleurs qui étaient en réunion aujourd'hui. Ils continuent à travailler sur la suite. Alors, assez rapidement, IRPAD, c'est un réservoir de pensée et d'action. Donc, il travaille sur les questions de recherche, mais aussi le renforcement des capacités et l'accompagnement. Et nous essayons d'aller sur les principes de recherche participative avec les différentes organisations paysannes particulièrement. Donc, pour la vision, c'est vraiment, nous disons que nous croyons en l'Afrique, une Afrique qui a la possibilité de se transformer positivement au niveau de plusieurs dimensions. Donc, je ne vais pas insister là-dessus. Et il y a 6 missions qu'IRPAD s'est données. Et ces missions vont de la promotion des activités de recherche, action participative, jusqu'au niveau de l'influence des politiques publiques, mais aussi et surtout sur les systèmes alimentaires territorialisés. Assez rapidement, je ne vais pas insister sur les questions de terminologie qu'on a suffisamment développées. Il part du principe que nous avons participé activement aux négociations au niveau des Nations Unies, donc, notamment au niveau du CSA, le CFS pour certains, sur la définition des boîtes de décision. Et il part à travers ma personne, a eu le privilège d'élaborer la méthodologie globale qui sert aujourd'hui de test au niveau du CFS sur la collecte des données sur les marchés territoriaux. Donc, on part de cette définition qui élargit les marchés territoriaux, pas seulement sur les marchés locaux, mais des marchés paysans, des marchés de proximité, aussi des marchés transfrontaliers, mais qui ont un certain nombre de caractéristiques. Alors, nous sommes partis sur 3 marchés, comme je n'ai pas beaucoup de temps. Nous sommes partis sur 3 marchés au départ pour une recherche comparative. Un marché qui est dominé par les produits céréaliers, donc qui est le marché de Marakakungo. Un marché qui est dominé par les produits maraîchers.
Can you hear Mamadou? Hi, everyone.
It seems we lost. Mamadou, he got disconnected.
Yes. Let's wait 1 second. Otherwise, we can just go to the next presenter so that we save time. He's not back. Can we move to our colleagues from ANPE, because I'm not seeing Mamadou back. Can you go to move to ANPE with a presentation? You have the presentation? Catherine?
I have the presentation of ANPE.
Okay, okay.
I don't know if I need to share it or if she's going
Yes.
to share.
Please
Okay,
go
I will
ahead.
share it.
It's colleagues from ANPE here. Hello.
Hello.
Okay. That's good, Maria. So we have lost Mamadou, so we can just jump into your presentation and we move to Mamadou afterwards. Does that work for you?
Buenos días
Okay.
con todos. Good morning, every friend. Thank you so much for the opportunity for my presentation. My name is María Fernandes Poquis. I am from Peru, district province Luya, region Amazonas, representation ANPE-Peru.
Okay, go ahead, Maria. You have 13 minutes for the presentation.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Thanks so much. Okay. La Asociación Nacional de Productores Ecológicos del Perú sobre de la comercialización asociativo. Siguiente, por favor.
I'm having problem to share. Just a second.
Tipos, sí, tipos de asociados para agrupar a ANPE-Peru. Somos en este caso, ya, un poquito más, por favor, no puedo ver. Thanks. Gracias.
Okay.
Del inicio, por favor. Perspectivas a futuro. Sí, gracias. Tipos de asociados que agrupan ANPE-Perú. Somos el 70% agricultores de familiares y comercializaciones de la agrobiodiversidad, el 15% agricultores y microempresarios rurales. ¿A quiénes agrupan? Agrupa asociaciones ecológicos de las regiones del norte, Piura, Lambayeque, Cajamarca, Amazonas. En el centro estamos en Lima, Huánuco, Junín. No lo puedo ver en esa parte. En el sur está Ayacucho, Apurímac, Cusco, Puno, Arequipa, Moquegua. En el nororiente está Loreto, San Martín, Ucayali. Y son que están asociados, 20 asociaciones regionales, son familias asociadas en la, no puedo ver ahí, por favor, un poco más arribita. Dímela. Siguiente, por favor. Planeación estratégica de ANPE-Perú para la comercialización. La perspectiva de los emprendimientos agroecológicos en los ANPE-Perú trabaja para promover el desarrollo de los mercados agroecológicos y de que constituye los comentarios no me deja ver, por favor. Ya, gracias. Contribuye el sistema alimentario sostenibles con certificación del sistema de SGP participativo, como promoviendo el emprendimiento nacional e internacional. Este comentario es que me está impidiendo ver, por favor. Bueno, voy a pasar. Mediante las ecoferias, cadenas cortas de comercialización y el sistema de comercialización utilizando, no lo puedo ver. A ver, ahí, tal vez. La visión y misión. ¿Qué brindamos? Brindamos productos ecológicos de calidad, hortalizas frescos. ¿Cómo lo hacen? Comunicándonos con los beneficios, ofrecer al precio competitivos. ¿A quienes se dirigen? A interesados con mejorar su estilo de vida saludable y conservar el equilibrio del ambiente. La misión de ANPE-Perú, contribuir al consumo responsable distinguido por la calidad satisface las necesidades de los clientes. ¿Qué queremos? Una parte no la puedo ver ahí, pero voy a pasar. ¿Cuál es el valor propuesta? Mejorar nuestra economía familiar y mejorar nuestra calidad de vida. Siguiente, por favor. Aquí los mercados potenciales favorables para ANPE-Perú cuenta con 18 regiones del Perú, biodiversidad en la costa, sierra y selva. Es como también tenemos las ecobodegas, abastecimiento y distribución. ¿Cómo se va el encadenamiento? En abastecimiento de los consumidores directos, en frutos de la tierra, las ecoferias, ecocanastas, hoteles turísticos, restaurantes, gourmet, así como también nosotros en las diferentes regiones estamos trabajando con lo que son las ecoferias, frutos de la tierra. Yo soy de Amazonas y estoy trabajando con las ecoferias y también con los gobiernos regional que recién estamos ya lanzando el SGP. Siguiente, por favor. Ecoferias Frutos de la Tierra son 32 ecoferias regionales y nacionales. Un ratito, porque la pantalla no le puedo ver. Son 32 ecoferias regionales y nacionales agroecológicas. 4.500 familias comercializando, más 3.000 familias con SGP, implementando del sistema de garantía participativo. Siguiente, por favor. Acá estamos viendo de los que se participan en las ecoferias, como es APEREC Junín, la Asociación de Productores Ecológicos de la región Junín. También está ubicado en el distrito de Tambo, en la ciudad de Huancayo, Junín. La presentación de productores de la región en las ferias en Lima también. Es una región, pero también participan en la región de Lima, que es la capital del Perú. Siguiente, por favor. Esta es la otra ecoferia que se trabaja a nivel de ANPE, Asociación Departamental de Productores Ecológicos de la región Huánuco, ubicado en Alameda, en la ciudad de Huánuco. Presentación de productos de Brasil, Ecuador en la feria de ANPE Huánuco, en la región de Huánuco, que están participando acá cuando hemos tenido la visita de los hermanos de los países ya mencionados. Siguiente, por favor. La marca colectiva Frutos de la Tierra. Nuestra marca representa el compromiso con las familias agricultoras del Perú y los valores que transmiten La marca Frutos de la Tierra está basándonos en los valores que la familia transmite de generación en generación. Construye confianza, productores y consumidores. Lo otorgamos valor a nuestros productos a partir de la naturaleza que las crea y personas que los trabajamos. Diferencias de los productos ecológicos en los mercados que venimos trabajando. Siguiente, por favor. Los supermercados, los superalimentos nutricionales para la salud. Como se puede ver, acá tenemos tanto en los frugos que se trabaja, en las papas chips, que es en la región Cusco, que se está trabajando papas nativas, también el coco que está por la selva, los licores que se tiene de la parte Pucallpa, también están trabajando, por ejemplo, la granola que también estamos trabajando a nivel de ANPE-Peru. Siguiente, por favor. El objetivo, contar con un centro de almacenamiento, distribución de los productos alimenticios naturales procesados de los socios de todas las bases de ANPE-Peru y aliados. ANPE-Peru no será el comercializador, será un canalizador, facilitador de las ventas. ANPE-Peru usará su marca registros Frutos de la Tierra. En dicho lugar se distribuirán los productos
María,
de los...
excuse me.
¿Hello? ¿Sí?
You have 2 minutes left.
Ok, thanks. Los socios de las regiones del Perú. Siguiente, por favor. Los desafíos logran la certificación a través de los sistemas de garantía participativa e instalación de los consumidores en cada una de las regiones. Mejorar el tema de presentaciones, contaminación de cruzada con los post cosechas y comercialización de los productos. Consolidar los canales cortos de comercialización en cada localidad, pues antes de cada cambio, gobiernos siempre son amenazados en quitar los espacios de las ferias. Eso siempre tenemos estos problemas. Siguiente, por favor. Perspectivas y futuro. Implementar el almacenamiento y distribución en la ciudad de Lima para atender a las familiares de las provincias, mejorar los inversores de los asociados de ANPE-Peru. Seguir promoviendo el cambio de los sistemas alimentarios en el Perú y a nivel político, como trabajar continuo con el MINAGRI, MINAM, Produce a través de la Agenda Nacional Agroecológica que se está trabajando con el MIDAGRI, con la colección nacional de la economía circular con la Unión Europea. Seguir trabajando para garantizar la alimentación saludable y la ciudad y cuidado, del medio ambiente a través de la promoción de la agroecología a nivel nacional a través de las bases de ANPE-Peru. Siguiente, por favor. Muchas gracias y esperamos continuar trabajando con ustedes. El tiempo es corto. Thank you so much for la oportunidad for me. Thank you desde ANPE-Peru y del Perú desde Amazonas. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Maria. It was really very interesting to hear from you about the necessities, importance of creating trust between consumers and farmers, but also all the challenges around creating income for farmers and their families, increase the quality of life, etc. These are very, very important issues you are working on, but also you talked about policy advocacy. That is very important for agroecology to have an enabling environment. So that's things that are very important. I hope that you will have connections and the support you need. And we are very proud at the Agroecology Fund to be working with all of you. So I don't know if we have Mamadou back, Mamadou Goïta. If not, we can just go and give the floor to Mrs. Shalmali Guttal to share with us the main findings of the Food from Somewhere report of the IPES-Food. Can we get that? Okay, excellent. Shalmali, you have the floor for 13 minutes. I will let you know if you have 3 minutes left. Thank you for being with us. Shalmali? Hello. Hello. Catherine?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
We just
Is
need
Shalmali here?
Shalmali. She is here.
Okay.
To start her
presentation. Okay, thank you.
Presentation is on screen.
Let me know if Mamadou is back. Hello.
Tabara.
Yes.
Suggestion. I think Shalmali, she had some issues. Maybe
okay.
we could stop sharing and maybe you can read some of the questions to the speakers that are ready.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, we have some questions here. So, how best can agricultural food best be branded, differentiated, and marketed as such in territorial markets? How can farmers and consumers be incentivized? There's some questions. How can we identify and differentiate an agroecological...
Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, you are back. Yeah, we can hear you now.
I'm sorry, I don't know what happened. I think my computer just froze, so I just relogged on.
Okay.
But I'm just yeah. So
okay, that's fine. We share your presentation.
Yeah, thank you. Let me just organize myself. Yeah. Okay. Can you all see me? No.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, we can see you. And the presentation.
Okay. All right.
You have 13 minutes.
Yes. So the first thing that I'd like to just say to everybody was, firstly, thank you very much for inviting me for sharing, and apologize. I apologize for what happened with my computer. I don't know actually what happened with it. This report that I'm going to present to you was developed through inputs from 3 IPES regional dialogues on territorial markets that we held in 2023 in Latin America, North America, South and Southeast Asia. And of course, the work of the civil society and indigenous peoples mechanism in the Committee for World Food Security, who my colleague Mamadou also referred to, and the Alliance for Food Sovereignty in Africa, and many other partners, many who are like the participants in this webinar who have done excellent research, and they shared their experiences and actual work with us. So thank you for that. Next, please. Next slide, please. Now, in this slide, I just talk about what are the food crises and what's been happening with food crises. Food crises are not a new phenomenon. But over the last 2 decades, we have seen numerous financial, economic, social, environmental, and climate disruptions that have made food and economic crisis a sort of a continuing and worsening condition for millions of people. And we use statistics. I showed statistics from the state of food insecurity in the world, the SOPHI report in 2024, that we are really not making any progress to end world hunger. I mean, today, nearly 800 million people face chronic undernourishment. We have 2.3 billion people face moderate or severe food insecurity, which is almost 30% of the global population. 2.8 billion people could not afford a healthy diet at all in 2022, 2023. And at the same time, we have 2 billion people who are overnourished, meaning they're overweight or obese. And while at the same time, we're seeing another 2 billion people suffer from some form of micronutrient deficiency, one or more, So basically, what's clear to us in IPES-Food is that the system that is supposed to be providing food that is being supported by policymakers, that is through industrial commodity and food production, and these corporate controlled global food chains, they cannot ensure food and nutrition security. Instead, they're actually full of risks and vulnerabilities. And I won't go into the details of those, but I think many of you know them, and if you are, you will find an elaboration in our report. Next slide, please. Now, we in IPES-Food believe that food security and food system resilience are in crisis. And in order to address this crisis, we need new approaches to strengthen food self-sufficiency, to enhance real, genuine resilience to shocks, and to rebuild food security from a new foundation, a new basis, which is food sovereignty. And food sovereignty really is what all the speakers before me have spoken about, and I think what the Agroecology Fund is also supporting through various means. Now, there is increasing interest by people all over the world, and policymakers also, in many governments, not all, about the importance of this vibrant food provisioning systems that exist beyond global food chains and corporate control. And many governments, especially in the South, global South, are realizing the importance of reducing dependency on the volatile global markets and so on strengthening food self-sufficiency. So of course, equally important, they're raising questions about how people are actually fed and by whom, and asking that, in this era of deepening crisis, what kind of food supply chains and markets can build and sustain resilience, and what can help to fulfill the right to food and nourish people more sustainably and equitably. And so one of the important aspects, I'm sorry, I'm getting a message which asks me to stop sharing. Anyway, I will ignore the message, sorry. So what one of the important aspects of our report is to explore what is food resilience, really resilience. Next slide, please. So if you look at this slide, I mean, I hope the slide is on the full screen and all of you can see it clearly so that the interpreters can also translate it. So we interrogated the issue of resilience, and we used different clusters and criteria to try to understand what does resilience mean. So on one hand, we have resilient livelihoods, communities, and cultures. This means that communities have autonomy and agency, diversity, social cohesion, and local food cultures, equity, and access. Then there are resilient environments, which means ecological integrity and biodiversity. Then there is weathering and adapting to shocks, which then includes further flexibility, management of connectivity, and preparedness. And all these are underpinned by, of course, adequate resources, public resources from the community, from the society, and from the governments, no? And this importance in this, in all of, in the issue of resilience, is the issue of power. Who controls power? Who controls production? Who controls the ability to distribute? Who controls management of biodiversity? Who controls the the ensuring of appropriate standards like participatory guarantee schemes and so on. No? And so this issue of power and agency and autonomy, these issues overlap and they really contribute to the concept of food sovereignty. Next slide, please. Next slide. Oh, sorry, you got it. Yeah. Now, what we did here is that I won't go into the details of this, the next two slides, because there we are talking, in this slide, we talk about the relationship between corporate food chains, food security, and food system resilience, because we see, and you can read the slide, you'll also find the same infographic in our report. But basically what we want to say is that corporate value chains are not fundamentally designed to nourish people, nor to ensure access to food. So, a large amount of food, huge share of food produced in corporate value chains is diverted to bioenergy, agrofuels, to animal feed, or they're converted to these foods that are dense in energy, but poor in nutrients. For example, like ultra-processed foods, And also, of course, corporate value chains, they generate major risks and vulnerabilities. They're very fragile in the face of shocks, highly concentrated. Just a small handful of large corporations control all aspects of the global food chain. They have long, opaque supply chains that are exploitative. They're harmful to the environment. And then they are responsible for environmental degradation, or at least they drive it in different ways. And we have discussed this more in our report. They threaten the livelihoods of small-scale food producers and the livelihoods of farmers, of workers, of fisherfolk, and they undermine dietary diversity and health. Next, please. Now, in this slide, we're looking into market concentration in supply chains to try and show how concentrated corporate supply chains are. And if you just take a quick look at this slide, you'll see seeds globally, in the global supply of seeds are controlled by top 6 firms. They own 58% of the market. 78% of the world market in agrochemicals is controlled by 6 firms. Farmland, 70% of the world's farmland is owned and controlled by 1% of the largest farms. 8 countries dominate the global agricultural trade network. If we look at grain trade, 50%, at least 50% of the global grain trade is controlled by 7 firms. If you look at ocean freight, which is very important for transporting food and grain across the world, 80% is controlled by 8 carriers. Look at poultry genetics, again, the majority controlled by 3 firms. Food retail, as I think everybody knows how concentrated it is with the supermarketization that we're seeing, no? And what we're also seeing is that corporate value chains also represent not only a damaging concentration of power, they are able to influence public policy. Because basically, corporate value chains and corporate food systems they serve the interests of their shareholders and venture capitalists who are focused on driving up profits at the expense of people, at the expense of biodiversity, at the expense of the planet. So our research highlights the extent to which they also dominate narratives and policies. So a vast majority of governmental and intergovernmental policy making, whether it's agricultural subsidies, support for markets, trade, investment agreements, tax breaks, infrastructure, they are in the service of corporate food chains, not small-scale food producers, not food sovereignty, So we also believe very strongly that corporate concentration of power, therefore, threatens not only resilience of our local food systems, but also democracy, and poses major challenges for governmental oversight of food systems. Next one, please. Next slide, please. Now, while this is going on, a significant share of food production and provisioning, as much as 70%, takes place largely or wholly outside of corporate food chains. This is what we refer to as territorial food systems and territorial markets. And we have just heard 4 really excellent, interesting examples of this among the 4 presenters before me. Now, what are territorial markets? We have I don't know if you can all see the slide and if the slide is being translated, or in any case, the slides are available on the IPES-Food website. These include a variety of what we call closer to home food supply chains, facilities, and outlets. These are spaces where we have vibrant food provisioning. There are formal, informal, relationships are built, smallholders, small-scale vendors, processes, workers, and others are in positions of significant autonomy. And of course, they're characterized by diversity of actors, diversity of the kinds of food involved and the food sold, diversity of the kinds of people who can participate. And these markets are extremely important for women and for young people, and women particularly in remote and underserved areas, or in women in places where regions where social and cultural, shall we say, autonomy is more difficult for them to attain. Territorial food systems and markets are multifunctional. They go beyond economic exchange to social, cultural, medicinal, and other functions. They are rooted in territories and communities, and this is extremely important. They're embedded in our societies. So society has control over them. So they play multiple roles within them. And that's why we say they offer food from somewhere. Global food chains offer food from nowhere. That's food from nowhere. We don't know where that food comes from. But in our territorial food systems and territorial markets, this is food from somewhere because we know where it comes from. Now, there are many kinds of territorial markets, of course. And we've named, we put forth, so for example, there are mass marketing spaces like public markets, informal markets, street vendors, farmers markets, peasant markets, wet markets, specialty markets. Then there are bulk community spaces. There are food hubs, there are cooperatives and network markets. There are independent local businesses. And then there's our direct producer to consumer markets, community supported agriculture. There are digital sales. There are farm shops, then there's urban agriculture, and there are a number of different channels, with potential to actually build up territorial markets and territorial food systems to something much, much broader. Next slide, please. Now, what are we believe, our research showed us that territorial markets build food security and resilience on multiple fronts. They demonstrate increased food access, health equity, and environmental good benefits. And at the same time, they boost and they support community solidarity, community cohesion. So they make food accessible and affordable, especially for low-income populations. They're better suited to the needs and preferences of low-income and marginalized populations. And of course, when they are coupled with social policies, there are even more benefits. And those are, for example, boosting community cohesion and supporting supporting solidarity and mutual help in times of crisis. So, the African Food Sovereignty Alliance's Pan-African study showed that public market food pricing was affordable, it was negotiable, it's much cheaper than supermarkets, of course. And in Africa, Asia, Latin America, Caribbean, most poor urban households buy most of their food from the street or from the other types of informal markets. And we find that it's these local vendors and markets that actually are providing the nutritional and the energy requirements, the calorific requirements for the working class populations. Next slide, please. Now, territorial markets also support, of course, key aspects of food system resilience. I already discussed the resilience issues with you earlier. So I won't, how should we say, the clusters that we had made of resilience. So I won't go into those. But we do see, for example, such markets support resilient livelihoods, communities, and cultures, because they provide decent prices and steady incomes for producers, especially women and youth. So we see in Thailand, for example, green farmers markets offer producers higher margins than big retailers. And these green farmer markets in Thailand and much of Southeast Asia account for 60 to 80% of the income of small-scale food producers and the vendors. In the United States also, decades of organizing of cooperatives led by Southern Black farmers have facilitated some $80 million of sales And I also secured 175,000 acres of land owned by Black farmers who in the past were not allowed to own any land. No? And then they sustain traditional food cultures and they foster community. They ensure access to seasonal, diverse, more nutritious foods and diets. And the UN Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, did a mapping of public markets in 7 countries, which noted that there's a range from 47 to 100 kinds of unprocessed foods available in these local markets. So we're talking about unprocessed foods rather than supermarkets, which are produced, which are selling over-processed foods and packaging and more packaging. No? Another important, of course, aspect of these territorial markets is their contribution to resilient environments, because they enhance environmental sustainability and biodiversity, and they are the main source for diverse indigenous seeds. And this is one of the spaces where agroecology is so important, because agroecology and territorial markets and food sovereignty, along with access to land, access to territories, access to fishing grounds, form a sort of a composite whole to create the future possibility of food. They create the possibility of food today by sustaining and nurturing the natural environment and local knowledge and capacity and agency, but they also create the possibility of food for the future. And another aspect, very important aspect of the resilience, of course, is weathering and adapting to shocks. So territorial markets demonstrate very high degrees of adaptability. And during the COVID pandemic, we saw in Brazil, but also in the Philippines, in India, in many places, that more than 45% of emergency food supply initiatives really came from local supply chains, local producers, and these locally organized markets. And over 85% of these were agroecological. In India, for example, my own country where I am now, during the pandemic, the government of one state, Kerala, it set up 1,000 what they call Janakiya hotels, which were run by an all-women network with their ingredients that they grow in their own local production program for Kudumshri, which is also agroecological. Next slide, please. Now, in this slide, we are comparing the corporate supply chains with territorial markets. It's a sort of a side-by-side comparison, and we can see, so on the count of food security, we see that territorial markets play a crucial role in providing healthy, affordable food for all, whereas corporate supply chains damage local economies, they threaten food security, and by relying on a handful of commodities. Similarly, in the case of health, we see that territorial markets are promoting dietary diversity and nutrient-rich foods. So what we did this comparison on food security, health, equity, adaptability, environment, and community. And in all of these, we found that territorial food systems, local food systems, agroecological production, local production, and these territorial markets in their different forms fare much, much better in ensuring food sovereignty, sufficient food, and safe, healthy food and affordable food and regular food access to majority of the people in the world compared to corporate supply chains. I won't go into all the details of the text. I'm sure you will be able to read them later because we don't have enough time. Next slide, please. Now, we also found a tremendous amount of barriers to the support for territorial markets. Now, 4 concrete barriers that we've shown right here in this, for example. One is, of course, the issue of pervasive inequalities, exploitation, and discrimination, which continue because people who are small-scale food producers, agroecological producers, those who are small-scale vendors, and the participants of territorial markets, they don't have adequate social protection. They don't have assured incomes in the absence of supportive government policies, no? So when there's a crisis of any kind, whether it's a pandemic or an outbreak of swine flu or bird flu or whatever, territorial markets face greater risks of closure. And vendors and small-scale food vendors and producers face greater risks of eviction and other forms of discrimination. And of course, here there are specific barriers faced by women, because in the absence of actually a supportive environment, it's very difficult for women in many cultures to be able to go out into the markets and to be able to have agency over trade, over sale, over income, over household income and the household economy, no? The second barrier is the scarcity of scale-appropriate infrastructure and finance. And I think this, our friends from Sri Lanka also brought this point up, that actually there is not enough publicly provided physical, digital, and social infrastructure in the planning of in policy planning for these types of markets. There's a general lack of financing. There's a lack of access to formal credit, because credit is dependent on having certain assets that one will put into the market. And many of our small-scale food producers, many of our those who participate in territorial markets simply don't have those types of assets. No, what they need is strong public finance, which is being directed to support supermarkets and is being directed to support industrial food systems. Then a third barrier is unfavorable rules and encroachment of the corporate norms. Here we're talking about health, hygiene, and certification standards that are developed for industrial food systems. So for example, when bird flu had the first big outbreak in Thailand 2 decades ago, the outbreak was in factory farms. But the factory farms were not closed. Instead, the chickens, the geese, and the duck of small-scale farmers in the rural areas, those were culled. And no support was provided to them. And this was the case across Southeast Asia, So there are certain standards, health and hygiene and sanitary and phytosanitary standards, that are in service of corporate norms, but they do not actually serve the small-scale food producers. And that's why this whole thing of participatory guarantee systems, community certification are so important for us to support if we want to continue to support agroecological markets. A fourth barrier that we saw is corporate co-optation. And this is really to do with language. So if most corporations now sell organic food, supermarkets have sections that organic food. Is it agroecological? We don't know. We still don't know where it's coming from. They talk about local foods, local food systems. So many of these terms have been used so widely that they almost mean nothing. And what we're seeing is that the corporate advertisers and their public outreach groups are using the language of small-scale food producers and vendors. They're using the language of food sovereignty. And they are using it, though, as labels for their own products, which creates both confusion and distrust eventually when we try to shift the narrative towards agroecology, towards territorial food systems and territorial markets. Next, please. I'm almost done. And then we have systemic cross-cutting biases, which are not country-specific, but they really are, how shall we say that, they're sort of like umbrella barriers that give rise to other barriers, no? So these biases favor food markets, agriculture, supply chains, and trade that are set by corporations and by the logic of industrial agriculture. And these include international trade and investment agreements, which broadly favor big businesses, finance, credit, infrastructural support. It goes to export-driven, large-scale monocrop production. It doesn't go to territorial markets and territorial food production or agroecology. Then there are intellectual property regimes and seed legislations that favor industrial agriculture and corporate commodity chains. And then powerful corporations, of course, they dominate food system discourse in a way that that reinforces their own power, and it discredits territorial markets. This sort of includes, there's a perception that food should be cheap, which is used to strengthen corporate value chains and their highly damaging practices. And that's why it was so interesting to hear from one of the speakers before that they wanted to show that no, agroecological food does not have to be expensive. It's organics that are sold in the supermarkets that are expensive, And so, but agroecological food sold in territorial markets is actually affordable, accessible, healthy, and diverse. So next, please. Now this is sort of my last point here. is our set of recommendations. That we believe that the full potential of territorial markets hasn't been realized. And it is indeed extremely important to build a more resilient food future. And so we have identified a series of actions for governments. So these include protecting local markets from corporate co-optation, breaking up supply chain monopolies, and supporting governance models that actually include small-scale food producers, vendors, workers, local entrepreneurs, and those who participate and organize these territorial markets. Second is shifting subsidies to invest in the infrastructure, networks, and people that underpin territorial markets, including public marketplaces, collectives and cooperatives, rural development, training, and scale-appropriate outreach. And then third, putting resilient local food networks at the heart of social and anti-hunger policies, not putting corporate food system, not putting corporate and global supply chains at the heart of anti-hunger policies. No, I mean, basically without food self-sufficiency, we cannot fight hunger, we cannot fight systemic poverty and systemic food crises that keep repeating themselves. And then we need to redirect also public procurement and state purchasing schemes to support sustainable small-scale producers, especially agroecological producers, and encourage sustainable biodiverse farming practices and diverse, healthy diets. Now, of course, we know that many people in social movements at the grassroots communities, many civil society groups, many researchers, many funders, donors are already supporting these, but we need governments to open their eyes and provide these types of supports. So in closing, I just want to say that our own lived experience and the research that is conducted by so many academics, so many social movements, so many institutions show that a diverse web of closer to home food supply chains and markets are actually feeding most of the world. It's reaching low-income populations, sustaining the livelihoods of farmers, small-scale food producers and communities, and it's nurturing biodiversity. It's this kind of diverse web of food that's providing a lifeline to millions of producers and consumers in times of crises. And, it is very important to throw our weight and our support behind these. And I don't know if I'm out of time, Tabara. You didn't tell me yet if my 2 minutes.
No, because it was so interesting. We were having a lot of good vibes from the participants. So we wanted to let you finish your presentation, because you were even answering the questions we got on the chat. So that's why we wanted to let you continue.
Right. So I guess just for a closing remark, I mean, I would just like to say that, we as IPES-Food are calling for urgent policy shifts to curb the power of corporate food chains and to bring supply chains and markets closer to home. And these are the diverse resilience building food systems, supply chains, and markets that we call territorially embedded food systems and territorial markets. Because they not only empower the diverse networks of people who deliver food sovereignty and, and food security, but they also, most important, they empower people. They build agency and autonomy, and they empower women, and they, restore hope in the young people in rural areas, that the rural areas should not be abandoned. So I will stop here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shalmali. Very, very nice presentation. And as I said, you started to answer some of the questions we got from the participants, but also just to tell participants that we have shared in the chat the link to the report, but also we will be sending the record of this webinar with also all the links to the presentations. Thank you, Shalmali. We had a bunch of questions in the chat, and one of them was for you, Shalmali, about the study, the FAO study you quoted by IPES in your report, in your presentation. Can you just give some indication for that so that we can move to questions? The one about,
I can find it, but if you want, I can find the link and post it. Shall I do that? Because
okay, please, if you can.
Linda, if this is from Linda. Yeah,
yes.
Linda, if you don't mind looking at the report has already been posted. You will find you will find the link there. If that's all right by you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Does this mean yes? She'll do that?
Yes.
I suppose so. Yeah, thanks. Because our study has all the references in it. And, you know, in order to be quick, we don't put the references in our PowerPoint presentations because they take up a lot of space.
So, thank you so much. So, interesting presentations. We have a lot of questions in the chat. I hope that you presenters, you have a chance to go through the questions. So I will let you have just 1 minute or two of comments or answer any questions so that we can wrap up because we are over time now. So can we start with our friends from Sri Lanka, Dr. Shiva and Rajesh. If you have any comments, we can just go quickly. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Quick comments.
Welcome. Thank you very much for this learning. We understood that there are a lot of things to be learned from each other. So this is a good opportunity for us to learn. From our side, there are a number of women who like to participate in this kind of programs to highlight and share their experience, how they are working in the grassroots level. But unfortunately, the language issue is a major issue because from here, from our local language too, we have to translate into English. From English, then you have to translate into other languages. That is one problem. Also time also the major problem. Then so we can develop this into like voice from women like that. We can prepare a voice and translate it into the video and we can present it. So that is the one way. Then also the sharing is very important. Then I am wondering whether AEF or in future they can think about like exchange program, sharing their experiences, like organizing exchange program from Asia to Africa like that. That would work more from the grassroots level. So those are some of the experience we can share.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I don't know if, Raoudath or if Loges want to say something. Or, yep.
No, Tabara. Yes, okay. Yes, I'm good. I'm good with everything. Thank you so much.
Okay, go ahead, Raoudath.
I would just like to. I'm sorry. I will be very happy if we can get the presentation, not just for Shalmali, but Catherine, yes, we will get it. So yes, it's okay for me for now. I don't know if I've got some questions, but for me, no, I don't see any questions for my presentation. So it's okay. Thank you so much, Farah.
You have one question, Rauda, for, and I think that is also for other presenters. How do your prices, how are your prices compared to the ordinary market? Do you have any suggestions on how to get ordinary people to buy and eat agroecological food? Because sometimes they are like known by being maybe sometimes more expensive. Do you have any like strategy to get it more affordable quickly?
Yes. As I said in my presentation, people found it very difficult to buy organic agricultural products because there is the meat, in front is the meat, and it is very expensive. That's why it's really very difficult to buy. But no, at Les Jardins de l'Espoir, we found a way to show them that this is possible to eat organic food, agroecological food, but at very less, low prices. Because we can farm with using our own biopesticide that we can produce ourselves. We can also produce it with our local materials, our local products, local leaves, and that make our cost for production very low, and that can help us to get carrots, cabbage, and other products, everything that we bring to the market at very low prices. That is the solution that we have at the Jardins de l'Espoir, because we have this challenge as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Raoudath. I think that Dr. Shiva, you have something to add very quickly before we move to ANPE-Peru. María.
Regarding the price setting, in our experience is the even though those are agroecological product, the prices are according to the local market. Sometimes it's below the local market price. So people may say price. They may ask how is it possible? Because it is possible because they have no any intermediate expenses. There is no any intermediate person or the bigger transportation or bigger companies, those who are selling. So here directly the women are producing, they are the same person or same community is selling. So there is no any major other cost. So therefore they can offer same price or sometimes less than that. That's why the big market is there, demand is there. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Dr. Silva. María from ANPE-Peru. Can you hear me? Okay, go ahead. About the question of pricing for agroecological products, how to make sure that they are less expensive than the one from the supermarkets.
Please, traducción, please, por favor. A little bit I understand, speak English.
María, la pregunta es acerca de la definición de los precios, cómo la ANPE trabaja para garantizar que los precios son accesibles para la gente que tiene menos ingresos y no son caros, inaccesibles o accesibles solamente para la gente que tiene plata. ¿Se puede hablar un poquito cómo ustedes trabajan la definición de precios?
Desde ANPE-Peru nosotros, tenemos un estándar que se trabaja en los precios, sobre todo en las regiones. Los precios no son muy altos. También nosotros trabajamos lo que es todo lo que son la producción orgánica. No es demasiado caro para poder nosotros vender, porque si nosotros ponemos demasiado caro, entonces el consumidor, muchos que no están muy sensibilizados en lo que es la agroecología o consumir sano, saludable, no valoran y a veces compran otros productos, pero nosotros queremos vender nuestros productos sanos, saludables, pero no en precios muy caros. Por ejemplo, en las ecoferias, ¿qué hacemos nosotros? Sensibilizamos a los consumidores, explicamos el producto que es sano, saludable para que lleve una salud sana, pero también entre las ecoferias, entre los hermanos, compañeros, compañeras, siempre hacemos acá el trueque cuando los productos nos quedan después de las ecoferias. De esa manera también nosotros solventamos lo que es la canasta familiar agroecológica, y eso es que nosotros hacemos, no hacemos demasiados precios. Sí nos identificamos, tenemos nuestros logos, tenemos nuestra marca Frutos de la Tierra, en la cual nos identificamos y nos conocen como los pequeños agricultores que nosotros trabajamos, como es así acá en mi región. Nosotros trabajamos con las municipalidades, también con los hermanos de la comunidad nativa Guajún. Implementamos y hemos implementado, gracias al proyecto Fondo Agroecológico, hemos implementado nuestras ecoferias, frutos de la tierra. También los hermanos están trabajando, nosotros también en esta zona estamos trabajando lo que son nuestras ecoferias, pero no en precios demasiados caros, porque los que son grandes productores o exportadores, o sea, no hacemos mucho esa competencia. ¿Para qué? Para que el consumidor de poco a poco vaya sensibilizando y conociendo nuestros productos, aunque en esta región nosotros no utilizamos insecticidas, solo preparamos nuestros propios abonos orgánicos, y con los jóvenes, con las mujeres, trabajamos a nivel de nuestra región y también a nivel de ANPE-Peru. Yo soy miembro de la junta directiva y también estamos trabajando lo que son las ecoferias, pero también sensibilizando en cada región. Hay regiones que no nos permiten, cuando ya cambian de directivos o gobiernos regionales, algunas regiones no permiten que nosotros entremos a participar con las ecoferias, que participemos. Siempre nos ponen pernos, como es en Cusco, tienen ese problema de que no pueden participar mucho con las ecoferias, pero ahí vamos tratando de sensibilizar a los gobiernos regionales, a las autoridades, que nosotros somos, que trabajamos con lo que son sanos, saludables, pero en parte de mi región sí tenemos esa accesibilidad de unirnos con las autoridades y poder trabajar.
Thank you so much, Maria. I will give the floor to Dr. Shalmali for the last comment very quickly before closing this webinar.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Barbara, and thank you everybody for the questions. I'm sorry that there is not enough time to respond to all the questions, but I can put my email address in the chat if that helps. And IPES-Food is a panel with number of many people. And there are 5-6 of us who worked on this report. So for those of you who are interested to get in touch with those of us who worked on the report and have a deeper dialogue, we are happy to do that. And of course, on the IPES-Food website, you will find all our materials, you will find the reports, and you will find all the references to the different studies that we have quoted. So may I, with the permission of the moderator, and may I put my email address in the chat?
Sure.
And
yes, thank you for doing that.
I will do. I'm putting it for everyone.
Okay.
I will do that. And the only thing which I feel bad that I was not able to emphasize, because in the time, was the importance of territorial markets for women and for young people, but especially for women. But hopefully that will be the subject of another conversation that we can have. And as our friends from Sri Lanka said, we need to keep having these conversations, again and again, so that we build a very broad support for these kind of locally, territorially embedded food systems and agroecological production all over the world. Thank you. And I'm putting my...
Thank you so much.
Please
thank you.
To contact me anytime.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for your time today. It was a very interesting conversation, and we've seen a lot of very innovative ways to strengthen territorial markets everywhere in the world, and their importance for farmers, their organizations, their families, but also for youth and women everywhere in the world. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your work, but also thank you for your partnership with the Agroecology Fund. We'll continue this kind of conversations, as Shalmali was saying, because we have always a lot of things to discuss, but also the idea of having like exchanges between farmers from different countries, because the challenges are the same almost. So if one country, one farmer organization is able to overcome the challenge in one country, it can be able to share the strategies, etc., tactics with other farmers in the world. So thank you so much. Angela, I don't know if you want to have a final word to our participants, but thank you so much on behalf of the Agroecology Fund. Thank you.
Thanks so much. We will come back next year with more webinars, and thanks for joining. You receive an email with the links of the record of this session and also the other supplementary materials. Thank you so much. Have a good week. Ciao, ciao.
Thank you.
And thanks
everyone.
to the speakers and interpreters.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you
Bye,
very much.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Take care. Bye.
A big thank you to all the speakers. I learned so much from everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you. In particular, thank you so much, Shalmali.
Thank you, señora
Thank you,
Ángela.
Maria. Thank you, Dr. Siva. Thank you, Loges, everyone. You missed Mamadou.